Umaginatimrandasya Jana Jana Salakaya Chaksun Militanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadanti Swavadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Vadakamalam Shri Yuta Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishika Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagapate Gopisa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gourange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishapanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this evening we are reading from the second chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita, contents of the Gita summarized, text 63. Krurad Bhavati Sammohat Shmiti Vibrama Shmiti Brahmasad Buddhinasad Nanasyayati Krodha Bhavati Sammoha Sammoha Smiti Vibramha Shmiti Brahmasad Buddhinaso Buddhinasat Panasyati Krodhat from anger Bhavati takes place Sammoha perfect illusion Sammohat from illusion Shmriti of memory Vibramaha bewilderment Shmriti Brahmasad after bewilderment of memory Buddhinasha loss of intelligence Buddhinasat and from loss of intelligence Pranasyati one falls down. Report and translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. From anger, complete delusion arises, and from delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost, and when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool. Please repeat. From anger, complete delusion arises. And from delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost. And when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool. Srila Rupa Goswami has given us this direction. Prapanchi kachaya pudya hari sambandhi vastunma mumuksu vi parityago varagyam palo Katyate. It's from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-2 to 58. By development of Krishna consciousness, one can know that everything has its use in the service of the Lord. Those who are without knowledge of Krishna consciousness artificially try to avoid material objects. And as a result, although they desire liberation from material bondage, they do not attain to the perfect stage of renunciation. Their so-called renunciation is called palgu, or less important. On the other hand, a person in Krishna consciousness knows how to use everything in the service of the Lord. Therefore, he does not become a victim of material consciousness. For example, for an impersonalist, the Lord or the absolute being, impersonal, cannot eat. Whereas an impersonalist tries to avoid good eatables, a devotee knows that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer and that he eats all that is offered to him in devotion. So after offering good eatables to the Lord, the devotee takes the remnants called prasadam. Thus everything becomes spiritualized and there's no danger of a downfall. The devotee takes prasadam in Krishna consciousness, whereas the non-devotee rejects it as material. The impersonalist therefore cannot enjoy life due to his artificial renunciation, and for this reason, a slight agitation of the mind pulls him down again into the pool of material existence. It is said that such a soul, even though rising up to the point of liberation, falls down again due to his not having support in devotional service. Jai Srila Prabhupada. So, Krishna is explaining this yoga system to Arjuna. And then in about verse 55, thank you, Hare Krishna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Oh, pardon, when I'm just going to read the English translations from 55 up to where we are. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "O Partha, when a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, which arises from mental concoction, and when his mind, thus purified, finds satisfaction in the self alone, then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness. One who is not disturbed in mind, even amidst the threefold miseries, or elated when there is happiness, or who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady mind. In the material world, one who is unaffected by whatever good or evil he may obtain, neither praising it or despising it, is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge. One who is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects, as a tortoise draws its limbs within the shell, is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. Though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, the taste for sense enjoyment remains." This is his first warning. "But ceasing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste, he is fixed in consciousness. The senses are so strong and impetuous, O Arjuna, they can forcibly carry away the mind even of a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them." Another warning of how difficult spiritual life can be. "One who restrains his senses, keeping them under full control, and fixing his consciousness upon me, is known as a man of steady intelligence. While contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for them, and from such attachment lust develops, and from lust anger arises, and the deadliest stumbling block of all, from anger comes delusion. Complete delusion arises, and from delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost, and when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool." So this anger is a huge stumbling block on our path of devotional service. And unfortunately, because we are conditioned souls, Krishna is giving us this warning that this could cause us to lose our spiritual life, anger. It's so dangerous. Anger can destroy friendships. I'm sure you all know people you've loved. You've had maybe some angry words with it, destroy the friendship for the rest of your lives. But it even destroys relationships in families. I had a friend, her daughter just got so angry with her one day, and that was it. And now she's had 2 grandchildren she's never spoken to. The whole family suffers like this. The grandchildren are suffering from not having the association of their devotee grandmother. It's a very sad situation. And there's nothing anyone can really do when there's anger between 2 people. There's no way other people can really. Sometimes you can find some mediators who are able to get in there and help them work it out, but it comes on so quickly, this anger, and that things that are said in anger can be so damaging and so hurtful, and those words, once they're out, they can't be taken back in. So anger is a very difficult thing. It's said that the anger begins in the forehead like a burning. And this burning is that illusion and that bewilderment and that forgetfulness of all we've studied so hard about. All the times we've studied and read the Bhagavad-Gita, this verse, that one shouldn't get angry, and still, we may have to face this anger. It may come to us. And in that time, there's a slight speck of a second that we can make a decision to let go of the anger, to take the humble road, to take the tolerant road, to take the patient road, to take the Krishna is in control road. And that's the road that we want to turn towards. Otherwise, it could ruin our spiritual life. So, how we can control this anger? These issues, this anger issue, is a sign of cracks in our spiritual life. Maybe we're a little lax in eating prasadam. Maybe we eat this and that occasionally. Whatever. It could be maybe we're being laxed in chanting our rounds. Maybe we're being laxed in other devotional practices. And that's why introspection on our own hearts are so much more important than what we see happening outside of us. It's what's happening in our own lives. And so that identifying those cracks and not waiting to the point in which the anger then has an entry into our spiritual life. Of course, we are all fallen conditioned souls. So unfortunately, these things happen. But the path that a devotee knows that he must take at this time is he must take the path of begging for forgiveness. That's by begging for forgiveness, we actually then lament our activities, our impious activity of becoming angry. And this will help us, get over becoming angry, because we'll remember, I'll have to apologize to this Prabhu with a straw between my teeth. Srila Prabhupada was so expert. And if Srila Prabhupada got angry, he just would raise his eyebrow and the whole room was shut down. One time when Srila Prabhupada was giving a Sri Upanishad class in LA, they brought out a new Sri Upanishad book that they just printed for him. And Srila Prabhupada opened the book and the cover fell off from the book itself. And then Prabhupada closed the book and he looked at it. Now I was sitting as far away as possible, not intentionally, but it was hard to get close to Prabhupada sometimes, from Prabhupada. And at that time I felt like the air was taken out of my lungs, because you could tell there was something very wrong. And he just simply got up off of the Vyasasana and walked out. And what was wrong is that, first of all, he doesn't like books made cheaply. He wants them made nicely. And the other thing was, it did not say Founder Acharya on the cover of the Sri Upanishads. So that was not acceptable to him. But the Guru, his position is to chastise the disciple. That's the Guru's position. And a parent has a certain amount of position to chastise the child. And even a teacher has a certain responsibility to instruct properly. However, how that's done is very important. And Srila Prabhupada was expert. He was very expert at chastising. He had this one personal servant who, when he first became his personal servant, Nanda Kumar, Prabhupada explained to him what to do. You serve me the prasadam, and I will eat. You take the plate and come back and wash the table. Simple instruction, right? And Nanda Kumar, he served Srila Prabhupada. He came and took his dishes, and he forgot to come back and wash the table. So Prabhupada instructed him again. You wash it, but he was a little firmer. He says, you must wash this table. He rang his bell, and he came back, and it'll never happen again, Srila Prabhupada, he says. The next time, again, he took the prasadam, and he didn't come back to wash the table. And Prabhupada rang his bell. And when Nanda Kumar came in, he said he could tell that Prabhupada was really upset with him. Hari Bo Nanda Kirtan, Hare Krishna. Prabhupada was really upset with him. And so he started to shake. But then Prabhupada said in a very even voice, very calmly, you must wash this table after I take prasadam. And Nanda Kumar realized that Prabhupada realized that he was kind of fragile. He couldn't take so much intensity. But some of his disciples could, like Tamal Krishna. Sometimes, or Brahmeshwar, Prabhupada would be yelling at them. And they would, yes, Prabhupada, yes, Prabhupada. They could take it. And Prabhupada knew how to deliver that. But for us, we need to be careful how we talk to other devotees, because the devotees are the dearest ones to Krishna. And if we want to become dear to Krishna, we need to treat his devotees very dearly. Have you ever said something not so nice to a child in front of its parent? That's one way to ruin your relationship with the parent. Or with even people with dogs. Ananda Kirtan knows in America, people are so attached to their dogs. But if you say you have an ugly dog, they become so offended. Srila Prabhupada also told that story one time about how in Mumbai, you see, in India, you see them now, dogs who are not cared for, they're scrungy and they're timid and they're very miserable creatures. But then you see a dog who has a master, and he's walking on the beach, and he's got a chain around his neck and a leash, but he's so proud that he has a master. And then Prabhupada took his neck beads and he said, and I have a master, it's Krishna. So it's important that if you're in a position of authority, and that's very few people. It's not just because you're the head cook. It's very few people who are in a temple who have a position to chastise somebody in an angry tone. It's really should not be a common occurrence in a temple. Srila Prabhupada said we'll attract others by the way we treat each other. So it's very important that we develop a loving family atmosphere towards each other and towards all the devotees. It'll attract so much. You know, if we are too harsh, even if we're a parent, sometimes a parent can become too harsh. And then the children, they go away as soon as they get old enough. They just walk away. They don't have anything to do with their parents anymore. This is not a good thing. This is a sad thing. Srila Prabhupada explained, actually, when a child becomes 15, you should become their friend again. And this way, you can develop a very deep, meaningful relationship. So we know that this anger comes from meditating on sense objects and becoming attached. And one of the chief organs that we have that's difficult is the tongue. The tongue is controlled. It'll help us so much in all our endeavors in spiritual life, especially with the anger, because the tongue is such a difficult thing. So if we're eating too much, or eating too many rich foods, it could cause us a lot of problems. It puts weight on the stomach puts weight on the genitals, it creates agitation, as Srila Prabhupada explains. And Srila Prabhupada recommend that as devotees we should take, we should fill the stomach with a quarter water, a quarter air, and half food. And in that way we have the perfect balance for digestion. And there was these two pujaris one time who came to complain to Srila Prabhupada about each other. And one came in and went on and on about the other one. And then the other one came in and went on and on about the first one. And Srila Prabhupada called them back in. Of course, they expected that the other one was going to get in trouble. And Srila Prabhupada told him, he says, "You both are eating too much maha. Stop it." So eating too rich food is not meant for brahmanas. It's not meant for us either. The deity dishes are meant for God. They're meant for Krishna. They're opulent and they're rich. But for us, our diets are supposed to be simple. And so, and irregularity is such a difficult, makes our life difficult too, because the whole system becomes confused and agitated. And of course, with the tongue is pajalpa. And pajalpa is such a bad habit. And we've had this habit since time immemorial. You know, even when we were in cat bodies and in dog bodies and elephant bodies, we're just making noise. What does it mean? But now we're in this human form of life. So we need to cultivate this Krishna katha so that we're always thinking and talking about Krishna. Now, there's another angle of this about anger. And Srila Rupa Goswami, well, actually, before I go there, Srila Prabhupada said that, well, actually, I will go there. Srila Prabhupada said that, you know, there is a place for anger in Krishna consciousness. And he said that Krishna spent 2 hours speaking to Arjuna on the battlefield to get him angry enough to fight. So there is a place for anger. And of course, we all know with Lord Chaitanya what happened. His dear, dear Lord Nityananda was hit in the head with a clay pot by these 2 rascals, Jagai and Madai. So here is the most merciful Lord who's come to teach love of God. He goes running out with his Sudarshan chakra ready to behead these rascals. And then there's the mercy of Lord Nityananda. And he even surpassed the mercy of Krishna Chaitanya at that time, begging him to have mercy on these 2 scoundrels who did then become devotees. But so yes, if devotees, devotees can become very angry for the right reason, and they can defend the temple. Of course, there's that story about when Mr. Nair was trying to steal back the land at Juhu Beach, and he had even died, and his wife continued on this fight. And she sent in, somehow she manipulated the police, sent them in with a destruction crew of people. And they started tearing apart the temple. And this one devotee named Matahili, she comes running out with a stick. And she is fighting them and beating them. And she's a big woman, but Prabhupada told her she'd go back to Godhead because she did that. They dragged her off by her hair, but she was still screaming and kicking. Matahili. Yeah. But she, so there are times when we may need to become angry, and that's all right. So we need to know that too. In LA, about 1973, it was we had a whole security system because we were being attacked by so many different stupid people for stupid little reasons. And one day, I heard the alarm go off, and it went off in the apartments, and all the men grabbed whatever they had and came running down to see whatever it was. And it was this carload of stupid men who jumped out, and they ran into the parking lot, and they opened a hood, and they were trying to steal parts out of a car. But before they could even get one part out, there were probably 12 men surrounded them. And they did get the raw end of the stick on that one. It wasn't so good. But I remember seeing my neighbor. He's a big man, and he had a baseball bat. And but he's not a Kshatriya. And he was like, it was so funny. But I realized, if you're not really inclined to fighting like that, better not. But Hanuman, look at what happened with Hanuman. And Hanuman went to Lanka to give Sita Devi a ring and a message from Ram. He got caught, but he let himself get caught, right? And then they tied him up, and they set his tail on fire. And he used that in a very good way. He burnt the whole Lanka to the ground with his tail. So there is a time and a place for anger, and we just need to know that. And then on another perspective, the nectar of instruction, the Upadeshamrita, says that a sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world. So this is our goal. This is our goal for every devotee, is that we teach Krishna consciousness. And how can we teach Krishna consciousness if we're not being Krishna conscious? So it's all of our responsibility to take control of the tongue and the mind and anger. And then Srila Prabhupada says so many times is that what we need is a higher taste. And that higher taste comes from being engaged in devotional service. And that's what we need to make sure, that we are firmly engaged in devotional service. And through that devotional service, we will get all the tolerance and patience and all the qualities that we need. Now, included in that devotional service is increasing our knowledge in spiritual life. Because as we know that the mind sits above the senses. The mind controls the senses. But the intelligence controls the mind. So the intelligence has to be strongly and firmly fixed in Krishna consciousness in order to control the mind. And then, of course, the soul controls the intelligence. And then also, an interesting thing about anger is it's also a transcendental emotion. And we see that a lot between Radha and Krishna. Because Radharani is a left-wing gopi, Prabhupada says. Her womanly anger is always awakening, but Krishna derives transcendental bliss from her. So this is a lot of the relationship between Radha and Krishna. And it's a transcendental anger, though. This is free of any kind of personal sense enjoyment. Actually, the ecstatic attitude of Sri Radharani is called Kutamita. When this ecstatic ornament is manifested, Radharani externally tries to avoid Krishna. And she apparently becomes angry, although she is very happy within. So we'll stop here and open it up for discussion. Ananda Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah, the door was open, so at the beginning of the class, so right before you were talking. Okay. Right before you started talking about the first pastime with Prabhupada. You were making a good point, but I got distracted
Oh.
because someone was talking.
I'm sorry. The first story about Prabhupada?
Right before that, you were saying something. And I know it was good, but I didn't. Right before the first story.
Right before I was anger creates cracks in our devotional life.
Yeah.
No, that's not what I said. I said that anger happens because of cracks in our devotional life, because we're not following properly the process. The process is scientific. It's so it needs like baking. If you just want to throw whatever ingredients into a pie, it's not necessarily going to come out to be very nice. And Krishna consciousness is like that. We have to follow the instructions of sadhu, shastra, and guru. So this is very, very important that we do this according to our spiritual master's instructions and according to the shastras. But if we kind of deviate and make up our own little process, it creates cracks. Maybe we're not chanting very well. We're not paying attention. We're not really hearing. We're doing other things, or maybe we're not eating just Krishna Prashadam. Maybe we cheat a little, have an ice cream here and there. So these kind of things. This will create cracks in which anger can come in, lust can come in, all kinds of things can creep in. Okay.
Thank you. There was a lot about Yukta Vairagya, about you can engage everything.
Right.
I just wondered what is your, because a lot of devotees say actually that's a very advanced position to actually engage everything in Krishna consciousness, and that it's actually, we can use that as an excuse to do what we want, or like that. I was just wondering what your experience is, or your understanding over the years of actually using that concept.
Anger in Krishna consciousness?
No, using everything in Krishna service. And is there a danger?
Well, I think if we're chanting sincerely and we're following sincerely, then I don't see a danger, because we're endeavoring sincerely. So the Guru is going to help us, the Shastras are going to help us. So I don't see it dangerous in that, as long as we are doing the basics very sincerely. Then I don't see a danger. If we're not following the process strictly, yes, I could see we could get deviated. It's easy. Prabhupada said it's like a razor's edge, spiritual life.
But as an example, for instance, we may say, we should go and watch some film, because so that we know what's, everybody's talking about it, we should know what's going on, things like that, or the news, get really into the daily news or something.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that we know what's going on. Is that okay, or is it not?
Well, it depends on who we are and what we're doing. I mean, if we're spending hours a day watching the news, we have a problem. We have an addiction, I guess, type of situation. Or if we are, especially if you're a preacher, you need to know what's going on. Even Prabhupada, he knew what was going on. He even commented on Nixon one time and this and that. He knew what was going on. Not to deep degree where, but enough where he could preach and use it in his preaching. So that's where we're using it in our preaching. Like, for example, there's all this corona disease going around. And Srila Prabhupada, when he was just a little boy, he remembers there was this big disease in Calcutta. And the holy men at the time, they arranged a kirtan, sankirtan. And they came to his house, and he remembers dancing with his father and chanting. So, yeah, there's ways we can use this for spreading Krishna consciousness. So
that would be appropriate.
If you're a preacher, yes. If you're a mom, why? If you preach, it depends on who you're preaching to. If you're preaching to children, why? Why do you need to know that much, you know? Hare Krishna.
Being with Prabhupada and you devotees were sometimes angry at Prabhupada or something like that?
I never saw anyone get angry at Prabhupada. I never saw anyone be that bold. I heard on a lecture one time, some fool got up and said, well, how do I know I wouldn't like to be a dog? Maybe being a dog is very nice. And Prabhupada, he knew how to handle everyone so perfectly. He said, so be a dog. He might be here somewhere, I don't know.
Also devotees between themselves when they are with Prabhupada, are they angry at each other for some purpose or fighting for some small thing or something?
I don't think so. I think being in front of Prabhupada is like being in front of the deities. You know, all your focus, all your attention is going to Prabhupada. There was one time when Haridananda was telling Srila Prabhupada about how many books he was distributing in South America. And Prabhupada said, well, you shouldn't speak so loud. If tomorrow Krishna hears you, he'll start competing with you. So he liked transcendental competition. But I mean, other than those two boys who were pujaris, who were fighting, you know, Prabhupada, he always encouraged us to get along and to work together. That would show our love for him.
Prabhupada mentioned that we should cooperate.
Actually, there was two boys, and they were young men, who were both very powerful in the movement in Hawaii. And both of them left at the same time. And Prabhupada said the reason they left is because they were making offenses to each other. So, yeah.
Anyone leaving the movement, that means they are not sincerely serving or
It could be offenses. It just, if we make too many offenses, we could have to leave the movement. You know, we're here, we're in training to go back to the spiritual sky, and we're all going to be together in the spiritual sky. But we got to learn to get along here first.
And how about some, like Pitanand, he could not cooperate with devotees, he made separate this thing. And Siddhaswami also, he could not cooperate, he did his separate things.
You know, he was...
So, but still
he did a lot of very sincere service. And Krishna sees the service. Krishna sees the service. And, you know, when a devotee has difficulty, this is a good subject matter too, is when devotees have difficulties. There was a devotee who had some difficulty, and he had to leave. His godbrothers gave him so much difficulty. And Prabhupada got mad at them, and he said, look at, now he's left because you all gave him such a hard time. He came back, and Prabhupada rubbed his head. He was so happy he came back. Another sannyas Prabhupada yelled at and said, I am spending liters of blood making devotees, and you are driving them away. So we have to really be careful, because everybody who comes to Krishna consciousness is a very unusual, very special soul. They say the demigods are waiting to take birth in this movement. So everyone who's here is a very unique, special soul. Yes, we are in the shower, we have some faults, but if we're intolerant of others' faults, who's going to be tolerant of our faults?
Combining this class with the morning Srimad Bhagavatam class, do you have any suggestions with when, like it says, you get a wife and a husband together, you have two people married that have similar compatibilities, and legs.
Uh-huh.
Now, my experience is, in traveling Sankirtan band, sometimes the guru arranges for very incompatible natures. It appears at times, at least, to make it extremely challenging. Not only maybe for one person, but maybe for both of those people. So, and you don't want to get angry.
Right.
And it's great to recognize that, that this is Krishna's arrangement and it's Krishna's mercy and all that. At the same time, it can be very challenging.
Yeah.
And I've definitely improved with it. But do you have any tips or insights to help?
Well, you're right. Krishna does make these arrangements, and especially if we keep seeing them happening over and over again. So it's like, when you're going through a study course, you've got to take all the courses if you want to graduate. So this may be a course, this particular type of personality. And you're right, we do see progress, and that progress can encourage us to go on and to keep trying. But in Kali Yuga, it's so quick. We're all so quick for these problems. It's quarrelsome. Is just such the modes of material nature are so strong. So again, we can remember different pastimes and become more absorbed in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And those pastimes are really helpful, because if we can identify those pastimes with something we're experiencing, then we can start to see, our demonic sides and start trying to weed that out and becoming more tolerant, more patient, and more humble. And it's not an easy process. It's simple, but it's hard for a conditioned soul. But Krishna will help. Praying is very helpful, but it's not just with prayer. It's also with endeavor and humility.
What kind of prayer?
What kind of prayer? The prayer to be humble, tolerant, simple. Krishna's, he's hearing everything. He's right there in the heart. He's right there. He knows exactly what's going on. So he's right there. You just have to turn to him when the heat starts in the forehead. It's just, Krishna. Just like the Pandavas, always turn towards Krishna. Krishna. All righty. Oh, Anand. Yes.
I never really fully understood this, because from lust, anger arises. I understand if your lust is frustrated. I heard devotees say that. That's an obvious one. But I can remember many times where I performed, before I came to the movement, I performed material activities where it didn't, anger did not arise.
Uh-huh.
And so many things. Went to a party, never got angry.
Yeah.
Came back home, I felt like I was enjoying. Had ice cream with my family.
Yeah.
Never got angry. So how is it that...
Why is it for harder for devotees?
Anger arises from lust. How does that...
Well, because we're raw. We've taken away all our sense gratification. We don't go to parties anymore. We don't have a little glass of wine or this or that or the other thing. We don't eat all the things we had that dulled our senses. Now we're purifying. So it's like we're very raw. And these things we're very sensitive to them because we're not satisfying our senses. The senses are always looking for some enjoyment here and there and everywhere. And we read that earlier too, that even though we cease our material activities, the desires do not cease. They pour in like a river pours into the ocean. So unfortunately, yes, that's a condition, especially for us newer devotees, is that we are vulnerable, very vulnerable, because we are not satisfying all these desires, and so we get frustrated. But it will get better with time. I know that's not very consoling, but it's true. It's true. It's harder. I mean, it's harder when you're younger. But you need the youth in Krishna consciousness. You need to be a devotee in Krishna consciousness when you're young, so you can get that taste, the higher taste. Because that's what will keep us going in Krishna consciousness. Because that taste is so much better than any other sense gratification we ever had. That's why you're here. That's why we're all here. Because we found a taste for something that's much, much better.